A big test for Donald Trump and his sway over the Republican Party tonight, and this is amid some new and measurable signs of erosion, which range from the tangible, like a Trump-backed candidate losing a primary, to, frankly, the Baroque, as Trump tries to burnish his conservative appeal by teaming up with a well-known conservative to do it live.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Donald Trump is going on tour with that individual, Bill O'Reilly, but also reportedly struggling to even sell tickets for their big teamed-up tour, which has led to some fresh mockery.
We should say the shows are in December, so they have plenty of time and could very well end up selling out. Who knows? But so far, it's not going great. Let's just say there were still a lot of seats left as of Friday morning. Yikes. We have more people in our audience, and we don't have an audience.
Meanwhile, polls will close in just over an hour in Ohio, where this Republican primary for a House seat is causing some very serious consternation among Trump advisors and Trump, with fears that Republican voters will again reject the Trump-endorsed candidate. And that, if it happens tonight, would be the second straight week that Republican voters may rebuff Trump.
Texas voters defy Donald Trump.
A special congressional election in Texas may have set the tone for the 2022 midterms. Congressman Jake Ellzey edging out President Trump-backed candidate Susan Riot for Texas's 6th congressional district.
It is the first time a candidate backed by the former president has lost an election since Mr. Trump left office.
This is still being seen as a blow to the former president's endorsement power.
A blow to the president, and not one that can be easily hidden. You just saw coverage there on the networks, on Fox Business, and of course, if you live in those conservative areas, you know when the Trump candidate loses. And that's not all. I mentioned several measurements. You also have Republican senators turning against Donald Trump's efforts to quarterback or ghostwrite Republican policy in the Biden era. 17 voted to advance the Biden deal that Trump opposed.
And if the Democrats get some of the things they currently want passed, including the Election of Corrupt Politicians Act, and infrastructure which isn't infrastructure, it will get even worse. What they're asking for is incredible.
So what's going on here? Well, the narrative could be wrong again. The Washington narrative has been that Donald Trump is super powerful, and there are certainly signs that Republicans are afraid of him. But are they right to be afraid? A political strategist and friend of the beat, Jay Comanduri, argues it's possible that the long-awaited demise of Donald Trump, even on the right, is beginning. The obedience Republicans still have for Trump, he emphasizes, is based on the idea that they believe he can still win. With Trump in trouble, we turn to our deep dive political conversation, which takes place on a special day here on The Beat. It's known as Che Day, with political strategist Jay Comanduri, who worked on 3 presidential campaigns, including the Obama effort, and we're indebted to him for several of the points we just raised. Che, I hope you'll join me in doing it live.
Oh, absolutely. I love joining you live, Ari.
Here we are. We're doing it live. That's a deep cut for those who remember. As Trump struggles to sell O'Reilly-based tickets, the more measurable thing in Congress is losing that race last week and what's up for tonight. What do you see here?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about a GOP civil war. To be frank, there's been no GOP civil war. It's been a one-sided massacre of anti-Trumpists in the GOP. However, I do think we are beginning to see green shoots emerge beneath the ice of Trump tribalism. I think you're seeing it in multiple areas. You're seeing it in this bipartisan infrastructure deal. You're seeing it in the about face that a lot of Republicans are doing on vaccinations. And you're also seeing it in these special elections, where Trump is proving to being unable to win GOP primaries in deep red states like Texas and Ohio. If he loses today, I think that those green shoots become full-grown trees. I think the question now becomes, can Trump win? And I think the answer a lot of Republicans are going to come to is probably not. When we go into this midterm, it's important to win voters, particularly female voters, who are very much antagonistic and dislike Trump and tribalism. And that will start to become the focus of the GOP going forward.
Yeah, and I think you make an important point that having become the loser of the last election, while these are sporadic indicators because they're primaries and they may or may not tell you where the whole Republican Party is, he's supposed to do well again among the type of far-right, more activist people who vote in these primaries. So that's the kind of thing that should have helped him. And I wonder, does it come down to whether he doesn't have any other moves? Does he have only one move? I'm reminded of Zoolander, obviously a classic, where Ben Stiller plays a model with incredible facial abilities, but he can't turn left. So when he models, sometimes he has to do a full twirl because he can't turn. Do you remember this?
Yes, and he had one great look. I believe it was Blue Steel was the one sort of look that he had for the camera that was kind of just his pose for everything and every mood. And I think that's very similar to what Trump...
Well, he always had the same look, but I think Blue Steel, to be clear, and you're the movie buff, was in development. I don't know that he'd ever unleashed it, but he always had the same look in every photo cover, which goes to the point you're making, right? Does Trump have any other moves left?
Right, and I think the answer is probably not. I mean, if you think about it, in 2014, Democrats only won 40% of women voters. In 2018, they won 53% of women voters. Trump has proven toxic to women voters. If Democrats lose women voters the way they did in 2014, they're going to get clobbered. If they win women voters the way they did in 2018, they have a very good chance of holding on to the House. And the problem is Trump needs to show a new move, a new pose, a new look to those voters that he hasn't shown any ability to win. Now, the House GOP and the congressional GOP like Mitch McConnell, there's a lot of hubris and confidence that they have this. They believe if we just turn out the MAGA base, everything will be fine. However, it's very possible that the MAGA base simply is not as into Trump as we thought they were. Look at the ticket sales, look at the failed blog, look at these special election results. I think it's very telling. It's very possible that DC Republicans are overrating how popular Trump is with Republicans throughout the nation.
Yeah, and you make such an important point, because the irony is, having underestimated Trump in 2016, in the press we heard from top Republicans days out of the election that they were bracing for him to be the loser in 16, and then they were going to move on. They tried to respond to that by overlearning in the other direction. Now they actually might be making the same mistake twice, just in a different direction, which is just completely overdoing it and not really understanding that the electorate can be fluid, even on the far right, because these primaries, which we're going to watch tonight, are definitely a fascinating indicator. Che, always good to see you on Che Day, sir.